I got totally grilled in my previous video with the amount of oil I was using to cook my fried eggs. I totally get it. People are concerned about their health or calorie intakes, you name it. In this video, I'll explore the use of oil when we cook with carbon steel pans. Can I make an egg stick in a pool of oil? What's the least amount of oil I can use to make a proper fried egg without sticking? How much oil makes it into our food? Does it make a difference if we use a lot of oil compared to a little bit? What are the options that carbon steel pans give us so you can choose? What's the right amount of oil for you? Hi, I'm Papa Mau. I'm here to inspire people use healthier and long-lasting cookware as a way to care for their loved ones and for the environment. In my channel, I show how easy it is to cook with carbon steel, cast iron, and stainless steel cookware. I share my own experiences as an everyday dad cook and as a weekend outdoor warrior. Welcome to my channel. Let's jump in. First, we need to understand what's a standard fried egg. And by standard, I mean how fried eggs have been made traditionally. I checked a couple of classic books and asked ChatGPT. Although the amount of fat varies between 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil, they all have something in common, which is that you need enough fat to be able to tilt the pan and use a spoon to pour hot oil into the egg whites. The idea is to achieve crispy edges and fully cooked egg whites without cooking the yolk. Okay, for all these tests, I'll be using this oil, rice bran oil. This is the one I used mainly for deep frying because it has a lot higher smoking point than other oils. As for the pan, we'll be using the same pan we used for the other video, where we found the cheapest carbon steel pan we could find on Amazon and decided to use it as a platform to develop and master the skills of cooking with non-Teflon pans. So the first challenge is what happens if we try to cook an egg without oil. See if the pan is hot enough. Ooh, it's hot enough, a bit too hot probably. All right, we'll see what happens. Well, it appears to be stuck, right? It is sticking. That's what happens when you don't use oil. Our second experiment is to try to cook an egg with the least amount of oil possible. That is just a tiny millimetric thin layer of oil that I'm going to achieve by dropping only 1 teaspoon of oil in the pan and spread it well and just wipe it out with a paper towel. 1 teaspoon of oil with a paper towel. I hope we can all agree that this is not a lot of oil, right? So I have the pan in front of my face and nothing's dripping, thankfully. Otherwise I would be burning on my way to hospital. Would this make a difference? Look, probably will not slide. It will not slide, but that's not sticking. That's not sticking. So I'm gonna repeat the process now with half a teaspoon of oil. And I'm gonna wipe it, but I'm gonna let it wet. See if this makes a difference. It doesn't slide, but a lot better. Full teaspoon of oil now. All right, immediately see a difference with this one. And we have a sliding egg cooked with only 1 teaspoon of oil. I wasn't entirely happy with the results, so I decided to try a different pan just to see if there was any difference. So I picked this Darto pan, which is a lot thicker, is 3 millimeters thickness.
The cheap Amazon one is 1.5, so it's half. And I used half a spoon of oil, so the minimum possible to just cover the floor of the pan. And I wiped it a little bit, so it was even less than that. And this is what I got. This is a perfectly sliding egg with virtually no oil.
There was a difference between the pans. I managed to get better results with a thicker wall pan. Now the cheap Amazon pan still works, it's fine. You may need a tiny little bit more of oil and potentially a more carefully done seasoning. But we wanted to experiment and test our limits here. You need virtually no oil or very, very little oil to be able to cook an egg in a carbon steel pan. That's good news.
4 tablespoons of oil. That's 34 grams in total. So one of the key observations is that, of course, oil is lighter than water. And of course, it's lighter than eggs. So even if you have a pool of oil, you put an egg, the egg is going to go down to the bottom of the pan. So regardless of the amount of oil you're using, in a liter or whatever, if you don't manage the temperature right and you don't have a proper pan, you can stick an egg, no problem. And that's exactly what I did. I put the oil in the pan when it was cold because I wanted to weigh the amount of oil I was using, and my little scale is made of plastic. So I started with a cold pan full of oil and added the egg at the end. And there you go, the egg is stuck in the bottom. You can totally mess up a fried egg even in a pool of oil.
How much oil gets into our food? A common saying that I've been hearing all my life is that if you use a little bit of oil, when you add the food, assuming the food is at lower temperature, the mass of oil will drop in temperature considerably. A lot of that oil is going to be absorbed by the food. But if you're using a lot of oil has a lot more internal mass, right? And retains its heat a lot better. So if you add something cold into a lot of oil, the oil will not drop as much in temperature and it would sear, if you will, the food you're putting into it. And the food will not be able to absorb that oil.
I was very curious, so I decided to make a little experiment, which, full disclaimer, I don't think is statistically representative, but it can give us some anecdotal information. The idea was to weigh the amount of oil before and after cooking a fried egg. And I had to use a Teflon pan, funnily enough, because my scale is made of plastic and the Teflon pan allowed me to weigh it and cook the egg from cold oil, which also maximizes the absorption of oil by the food, which is what we want to test. So long story short, after cooking the egg, there were 3 grams of oil missing. Now, assuming that all those 3 grams of oil were absorbed by the egg, which is a very conservative scenario, that would mean that you would increase the amount of calories intake in 27 calories. Now, if that's a lot of calories or not, or if 3 grams of oil is healthy or not, that's for you to decide. For me personally, I think I will stick to my process of frying my eggs on olive oil and hope for the best. But don't worry, if 27 calories is a lot for you, I have a solution. The ultimate oilless fried egg. Just heat your carbon steel pan, chuck some hot water on it and drop your egg. Then cover your egg with a lid and let the steam do the work for you. I'm about to cry. I've never seen a healthiest fried egg in my life. There we go. That's a sliding no oil egg in the carbon steel pan, non-stick. So it's totally up to you. You can virtually have eggs with no oil in these pans.
After our experience cooking fried eggs, I would like to take a couple of minutes to go through quick tips that we can use to cook anything in any carbon steel pan. First one is the temperature of the pan. A cold pan will be more likely to stick than a warm or hot pan. So always warm up your pan first. Carbon steel pans have the tendency at the beginning to have hot spots. That's because carbon steel is a poor heat conductor compared to aluminum and other materials. So you need to heat them low and slow and give them time to spread and warm evenly. A couple of minutes should do the trick. And while you are doing that, you can rotate them or move them around a little bit, and that's gonna make a big difference. Let's talk about fat. I've been using oil in this video. You can use butter. Butter is very popular. I personally and my family don't like the taste of eggs with butter, and I end up eating these eggs. So I didn't use butter. You can use butter 100%. More butter, more oil will help with non-stick properties, but up to a point. From our experience, we demonstrated that you can cook an egg with virtually no oil. We managed to get a sliding egg with half a spoon of oil in a well-seasoned pan. And we managed also to get an egg stick at the bottom of the pan using a pool of oil. The point here is that you don't need a lot of oil to make the pan non-stick, and a pool of oil will not save you if you don't do things right. Temperature of the food. The cooler the food you are adding into your pan, the more likely to stick. That doesn't mean that you cannot cook a piece of chicken breast from the fridge. Not at all. But it's gonna be more sticky than if you let that chicken breast rest maybe 10 minutes. It's gonna be easier to fry an egg if the egg is at ambient temperature instead of calling for the fridge. I don't pay attention to that. I cook everything straight from the fridge and no problems. But if you have some challenges at the beginning, consider letting your food rest for a few minutes at ambient temperature and see if that makes a difference. This is a critical point. As soon as you put your food in the pan, you are committed. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. Let it cook for a few minutes and it will start releasing. At the beginning it grabs the pan and then it releases automatically. You can start testing from the sides gently and you will immediately notice when that happens. And lastly, seasoning. Seasoning is important, but it's not as important as a lot of people think. By the way, the thick pan I used to cook our egg, it's never been seasoned. It's never been formally seasoned. It has been seasoned just by cooking. I started from a raw pan and I'm gonna make a video about that. The point is that with a thin layer of seasoning, if you do it once properly, that's enough. Just start cooking. The more you cook, the easier it gets and the better they become. And I hope these variables give you a bit of a roadmap to start your journey cooking with carbon steel. If you have any challenges, please drop me a comment. I would love to help. I hope you're getting good value out of this video. If that's the case, please consider subscribing to my channel and help me build a strong community and spread the voice so more families can enjoy healthier and more sustainable cookware in their lives. Quick recap from today's session. I personally learned a lot and I hope you got something out of it as well. A classic fried egg needs a lot of fat. You can use butter or oil, but you need to be able to use a spoon to pour oil on the egg whites. That will give you crispy edges and a runny yolk. If that's too much oil for you, fair enough. We explored the possibilities of carbon steel and we managed to get an egg sliding with half a spoon of oil. We also tested what happened when you try to cook an egg without oil at all. The egg stuck 100%, but it wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't a crazy mess. It was a little bit crispy. I managed to pull it out with a spatula and I actually ate that egg. It wasn't that bad. I like the taste of oil anyway. That's personal preference. We even managed to mess up a fried egg swimming in a pool of oil. That was quite surprising, but that tells you that the non-stick properties lie in the technique, not in the oil amount. And at the end, we even managed to cook an egg with no oil. That would be a boiled egg or something. I don't know. I have to admit that I didn't try that one. But that's the healthiest you can get, which is amazing. Carbon steel pans doesn't necessarily mean that you need to fry all your food and use excess oil every single time. Thank you, and I see you in the next one.